Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Plutonium Show.
Hi.
Thank you once again for joining us for the 94th time, I believe.
I think it is, yeah. We should have it written down somewhere before we start.
It's in my notes,
It's
but
right
I don't trust myself.
Yeah, I understand that.
What if it's 95? Thank you all for joining us. Hope you had a good weekend. I sort of didn't because I had to watch Meghan's thing at the South by Southwest conference, you know, the session that she basically paid her way into by getting Archwell to sponsor it or present it. That was not fun. I really have a problem with sitting there and watching people flip the narrative. You know, it's PTSD almost for me, because I watched a person who sexually assaulted another human being and stalked them and harassed them sit there in court, literally flip the narrative and go, I was the one stalked. I was the one who didn't want him anywhere near me. Oh, boo-hoo. And, you know, obviously Meghan's not a criminal, but that's pretty much what she sat there and did. It's not the first time she did it, but it never gets easy watching liars, sick monsters like that.
I can't stand listening to them. I can't stand hearing them. It just grates on me because they know. They know.
You know what they both have in common, the two people, well, Meghan and the person I'm referencing? They were both smiling the entire time they recounted their tale of woe. Mm-hmm. And we're going to see that today, unfortunately. I will be sparing you a little bit. Not you, Zach. Zach's going to watch the whole thing because, you know, our eyeballs aren't going to copyright anything. But YouTube,
please have my eyeballs. Please copyright them. I don't want to say it.
YouTube is going to copyright it if I play not the whole hour, just the whole answer. So, the South by Southwest session. Now, as usual, when it was announced, all of us were left scratching our heads. Because essentially, I have a screenshot right here to read out of. Basically, Archwell, as I said, presented a session in honor of International Women's Day. Mm-hmm. Where the focus was meant to be on women's representation in the media. And with some specific focus on mothers in particular, how mothers are portrayed in movies and entertainment.
Right. Okay.
And of course, you know, I don't have them here right now. I'll see if I can find the screenshots. But there was a time a few days ago before the session on Friday where Brooke Shields and Katie Couric and, forgive me, I don't know the other panelist's name, but she featured on Meghan's podcast in the Dragon Lady episode. They all didn't, even the moderator, they all didn't hand in their bios. There were no bios, but then Meghan basically had like a 3-page bio, which was ripped out of her Sussex website.
I remember you showing me that. Just read the room, or in this case, read the website maybe.
It's embarrassing. It really, I mean, it's also makes me pity her, because for you to be that insecure when you have everything in the world. And as I've always said, look, recently, I'm not body shaming, recently, I don't know what she's on and all that weight loss, but she's generally a very attractive woman. I don't know why she has to be so insecure. I don't know what happened in her childhood, and I'm not a psychologist or a mental health expert, but we all know, you know, when you get past a certain age in life, and you know that your childhood 100% shapes the person you end up being for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. That's why Catherine has her, her focus, her niche is on the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Because those formative years are so important. I don't know what happened to Meghan because her parents doted on her. You know, there's talk her mom basically ditched her for 10 years. Maybe that's what did it. But she is so insecure, and I'm not going to go through that 3-page bio. As I said, it's a ripoff from her Sussex website. But they repeat a little bit of it here in this blurb. So we'll hear from feminist and champion of human rights and gender equity, New York Times best-selling author. In case you're wondering, it's The Bench, which
Are you joking?
And co-founder of the Archwell Foundation and Archwell Productions, Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Still with that title, of course.
This is going to be a fun panel.
Speaking of titles, if you've missed my last video, it was like really in depth, just deep dive into what's it going to take to remove each and every one of their titles, not just the one. So do watch it if you haven't already. It was quite interesting to research, actually. I really enjoyed it. So I think I'll make more videos just doing that more deep dive research angle rather than commentary, because I think that's where that's my jam.
Yeah, you seem to be a lot more enthusiastic and enjoy the process of creating a video a lot more when it is a deep dive rather than commentary, I suppose.
So, all right. Now, aside from the fact that I still find it very difficult to wrap, I'm sure you agree, to wrap your head around the notion of this woman whose sole achievement in life, if you can even call it that, is marrying a man.
The complete opposite of feminism.
Well, I wouldn't say complete opposite. I don't necessarily call myself a feminist. I'm an egalitarian because I genuinely believe in equality, and I understand that that's where the origins of feminism lay. But I don't want to be associated with a movement that today has been so tarnished because it's seen as more anti-men and women can do no wrong, which Meghan touches upon this in her answer that we're going to dissect today. You can be a feminist and still be married.
Yep.
There's nothing wrong with marrying a man, nothing wrong with falling in love with a man. But when that's your sole, that is your call to fame, the sole reason that you're relevant.
If you didn't marry that person, you wouldn't be famous. That's the problem.
It's not even famous, it's accomplished. To be someone worth listening to, to be someone who has worked hard, who has achieved great things in whatever field it is they choose. It doesn't have to be in the feminist, women's right sphere. That's someone who is worthy of platforming and listening to.
Yes.
Not this.
Not this word salad. Not this, let me talk about me and myself. And that's why I scoffed when you said what the panel was meant to be about. Because as soon as you present Meghan in any sort of light, it doesn't matter what you wanted it to be about. It's now about her. You don't get a choice because this Duchess thinks the entire world, the entire universe revolves around her.
Yep. And while I did skim through the whole hour, and yes, they did touch upon, especially the other panelists, they did talk about the whole idea. Brooke Shields was on it. I don't know if I mentioned her. But to me, that was the most famous person on the panel. They did talk about the topic at hand, but Meghan in particular, whenever it was focused on her, it was either about her dishwashing liquid commercial. You cannot make this up. And because Archwell presented the whole session, you can bet your bottom dollar that she asked Katie Couric or someone, her people, asked Katie Couric to bring it up. Because it was another woman who brought it up.
Of course.
And I don't know if she was taking the mickey out of her, but it was more like, I'm not sure if everyone's heard this story, Meghan.
That is so good. Oh, my goodness.
And she just jumped on it. She just took the bait, hook, line, sinker, and went off.
Did you just say we could talk about me?
Yep. And the best part is, after she gave her long-winded answer, which ironically towards the end, she said we should not be silencing women in their fight for truth or, to get the truth out there and to move away from something wrong. I'll play an excerpt.
It goes to show that if you know that there's something wrong and you're using your voice to advocate in the direction of what is right, that can really land and resonate and make huge change for a lot of people. So your voice is not small. It just needs to be heard.
This is one of the ways we're very different. When I was 11, I was playing a prostitute.
Okay, bro. Okay.
It's funny because what Meghan just described, is exactly what people are doing to bring her down. It describes the movement and our voices being small. They just need a platform to be heard. That's what we're doing, Meghan. We're doing exactly what this is. And not only that, we're standing up against something that's wrong. You're wrong, Meghan.
Her and Harry. But yes, absolutely. And that's why I made sure to include that clip when I recorded Brooke's response, because that's exactly what she then completely goes against when she brings up a platform that she doesn't want to name.
Oh.
But it's very obviously crystal clear because she said, I know it's being streamed on that platform, YouTube.
Oh, what other platform could it be streamed on?
So for the first time ever, she has singled out YouTube. And I think what's happened is, if you cast your minds back to 3 years ago, November 2021, when she did that New York Times Deal Book interview with Melody Hobson in the background, and she talked about tabloids having to come with a warning, like, cigarettes. That was her thing, her and Harry. I mean, it's still Harry's thing. But because they have thoroughly failed to restrain the mainstream media, which includes tabloids, she has now shifted her focus to us.
Funny that, because if she knew anything about great mythologies, she might have heard of the Hydra. Cut off one head, multiple heads grow back. She's going to come after YouTubers. That is an attack. Before, she was just attacking everyone broadly. And when she attacks the tabloids, well, now every news channel on YouTube, no less, talks about how horrible she is.
Yes.
Right? Everyone's in on it. You attack the media turned it up. Even when they threw Backgrid under the bus, and Backgrid went, no, we're not taking that.
Yeah.
So does she not understand that everywhere she goes, I mean, seeing the world through her eyes, everything is a hornet's nest, and she just keeps poking them. She thinks she can win against the entire world, seeing her do such horrible things, and we're just going to sit there and let you do it? No.
That's exactly what she expects. Now, with YouTube, I believe it was 2 years ago, but we were much smaller. We were not on the radar. I'm not saying we're on the radar right now, to be honest, so could still be small. And that's the way I like it, ironically. But Christopher Boozy bought Sentinel. Remember that? He had a whole list of YouTubers to target who talk about Meghan, and it didn't work. And need I remind everyone that their report was also false, because Twitter came out and said, what you talking about? There's no bot campaign against Meghan Markle.
Yep.
However, speaking of bot campaigns, this is something I learned over the weekend. As far back as 5 years ago, the 12th of March, 2019. Screenshot is up for anyone who's just listening. On a website called McLean's, Meghan Markle's Twitter bot network. The whole thing is a bit insane. A European consulting firm has discovered a highly connected Twitter hive that is attacking journalists who cover the royals.
And I do love when it's a European organization involved, because they've done a lot of good things. So, am I surprised at all that it was a European corporation, government entity who found the truth? And how telling, too, that Meghan came out and said, bots this, bots that. You just played your cards. You just showed your hand.
Exactly. And we don't have time, unfortunately, to cover the entire, both articles that I have, because this one, McLean's, is very detailed. But what I'll do is I will hopefully remember to link it in the description box for everyone to read, and potentially even just make a video about it in the near future, because I have never heard of this. So basically, and this is another article, before I elaborate. This is from a year later, August 15, 2020. Harry and Meghan fundraiser connected to Twitter troll account ripping royal family.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, because didn't you hear Catherine isn't a woman? Didn't you hear that Camilla isn't a woman? Did you know Queen Elizabeth isn't a woman? Exactly. No, the only woman in Meghan's life is Meghan. So how's that for a little bit of, not a psychologist, but that sounds very narcissistic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this is, of course, then all, even if these aren't true or, new information has emerged later to rebut it, the Sussex Squad.
Yep.
The Sussex Squad. Need we say more? I mean, they have always been the most vile monsters.
Yes.
But recently, since Princess Catherine's been in recovery, they have really, really crossed the line to the point where last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, the British press was covering on mainstream news the bullying that the Sussex Squad conduct.
Which is what Meghan accuses us of, even though all we're doing is telling the truth. All we're doing is saying, hey, Meghan, that was very hypocritical of you. Hey, Meghan, that was horrible of you to do or say. And it's always about something Meghan's done. And if you're not allowed to call someone out when they do something wrong, because you're going to accuse that of bullying, well then, obviously we all know it's because she doesn't want us to say anything that she's doing wrong because she doesn't think she can do anything wrong. But I bet you that the Sussex Squad made it personal.
What's crazy is the timing of this whole session. I don't know for how long Archwell has been planning to present this session. But is it really beyond the realms of possibility to think or to conclude that after the British press were covering the Sussex Squad's bullying, Meghan decided to flip the narrative, poke her nose into South by Southwest and arrange the session just to sit there and wax lyrical about what a victim she is of bullying?
Yep, that sounds exactly like her, because there's no way that she could just sit there and go, oh, someone said horrible things about me. Better turn it around.
Exactly. So I think before we go any further, this is where I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. But we're going to listen to what Meghan has to say when, lo and behold, the moderator coincidentally asked her to talk about her experiences of being bullied online in a session that was meant to be about, from what I understand, the representation of mothers in entertainment. But of course, she twists it, and we hear something new we've never heard before. That most of the bullying, the worst of it, happened while she was pregnant and while she was, taking care of her newborns. But let's listen, and then we'll just talk.
What I find the most disturbing, frankly, especially as a supporter of women, is how much of the hate is women completely spewing that to other women. We have forgotten about our humanity. And I understand that a lot of money is being made there. But even if it's making dollars, it doesn't make sense.
Okay. I know that was a lot, but I do have notes here to help you if you want.
Oh, let's start at the very top. Meghan is a traitor to America now. What's your First Amendment? Free speech. Very first one, Meghan just called for people to be silenced. She just called for people to silence other people and not give them free speech. So she's not only a traitor to the UK, she is now a traitor to America. How many more countries does she want to be a traitor to before her reign ends? 2, feminism. The best thing that women can do for other women is call them out on their horrible behavior, because what hurts the cause of feminism more than anything else? It's when women call themselves feminists and then commit atrocities, commit horrible behaviors. That is what does it. So if women have each other's backs the same way that, the ideal world, guys would have each other's backs. Hey, mate, maybe you shouldn't harass that girl. Hey, mate, maybe you shouldn't do that. Then feminism would be in a much better place. The idea of, oh, a woman did it, so it's okay. No, that is exactly why women aren't taken seriously in this movement. That is exactly the problem, is that you want all the rights, but none of the responsibilities. No, true feminists, people who want equality between the sexes, understand that there is rights and responsibilities. You don't just get to trod on people as much as you want. And then just one little other thing too. Meghan literally made people cry when she was in the palace.
Women
of all
cry.
people.
Yep.
So,
yeah. And by the way, again, in case they're watching and they want to sue, first of all, good luck suing a lawyer. But second of all, Harry confirmed that they were all slumped over their desks crying in his own book. And I understand why you in particular are so fired up, because this idea, this disgusting notion that a woman should never be called out and women should support women no matter what, is exactly why Zach was absolutely violated by a woman. Because his friends, his mates who were meant to be looking after him were like, oh, she's a girl, dude. Whatever. She sexually assaulted you? I wish she'd do that to me. That's the attitude. It's not just Zach. There are thousands, if not millions, of young men out there being harassed, stalked, murdered, assaulted by women, even teachers. The P word, which I don't know if I can say that yet. Teachers who target their male students. This is a real problem. Why is it still there? I'm not saying men don't do the same to women or to each other. But We don't hear people saying you shouldn't be calling a man out. In fact, there are entire campaigns. Remember Gillette, I think it was, to fight against toxic masculinity.
Yep.
So let's fight against toxic femininity, which Meghan Markle, in our opinion, is the poster woman for.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely right. I will say, we don't condone bullying, harassment, not in real life and not online. So if Meghan is in fact experiencing that from a small, a minority who are really being nasty, they're really, throwing out ad hominem attacks, insulting her simply because of the way she looks or whatever it is, that's not right. We would never condone that. I don't want Meghan to be bullied. I genuinely don't. Yeah.
And because we are coming at this from a moral point of view, if we saw that, if we were part of a community and someone crossed the line, it's up to us to go, hey, we're going to bring you back. We're all on the same side, and I'm doing this with peace and love, but we're going to bring you back. Come back. Let's not cross that line. That is the difference between us and the Sussex Squad, is that we have morals, ethics, standards, and we abide by them. We are criticizing someone's horrible behavior. We are not attacking them personally.
Absolutely. And we understand, especially being on the internet as we are, that the internet is still somehow, even though it's existed before we were born, long before, the military had it in the 60s, but it became a mainstream thing when, in the 80s?
I think it was the 90s-ish, AOL.
So pretty much our entire lives. We were born in the 90s. So it's still in its infancy somehow. And by that, I mean, people still don't know how to behave on the internet because these trolls, these bullies, even the Sussex Squad, these horrific examples of human beings would not behave that way in real life. I would wager. I would hope, in fact. Most people who leave nasty comments online and have, smear campaigns are too cowardly to do that in real life. So yes, some people are not civilized on the internet, but being civilized doesn't mean getting censored. Right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yep, absolutely.
We should all be able to have discourse online and comment on public figures who have coveted their public platform their entire life. And even if they didn't, even if there's someone like me who very reluctantly put myself on YouTube to raise awareness to this entire problem, which is let's stop cutting evil women slack because I saw what it does. And it's unacceptable. So my point is, there's negative, there are people bully me online, except I don't know about it anymore. Mm-hmm. That's the key difference here, Meghan. I am an entire generation younger than you. I shouldn't know better than you. You've lived on this planet far longer than I have. And Brooke Shields says it at the end of that answer.
When all the vitriol was being hurled at me and my mother and everything, I never read any of it. My daughters were the ones to tell me, Mom, don't read the comments.
Brooke Shields' daughters got to the answer. I don't know if they're public figures, but they figured it out before Meghan figured it out.
Exactly. And I would, I'm not a gambler, but I'd bet a lot of money that Brooke Shields said that on purpose.
Absolutely.
It was her way of saying, Meghan, you'll never stop it.
Nope.
This will never end. Just don't read it.
Doesn't matter if you're spotless. Doesn't matter if you've never done anything wrong. There will be people who don't like you just from the look of you.
Yeah.
But you can't change that. You can't make everyone like you. And if you spend your entire life, if you waste your entire life trying to do that, then it's hopeless. And this is what Meghan's doing. She's like, everyone has to love me. Even people who hate me have to love me. No, Meghan, no one has to do anything. Least of all because it came out of your mouth.
Yeah. And there are already, she talks about how we need change and reform at a systemic level. There are already mechanisms put in place by society to limit free speech in the correct manner. Defamation comes to mind.
Yep.
Hate speech. Just a couple of examples just off the top of my head of how our free speech is limited, but rightfully so.
Yes, because there is a difference between free speech and hate speech.
Absolutely. So I don't know why she's pretending that we're living in this society where, I mean, she of all people, she knows that if she wanted to sue any one of us on YouTube for defamation or, you know, report videos for hate speech, she could. She has the money. She sued the mainstream media. Why wouldn't she sue small little YouTubers? But she can't because we're not defaming her.
No, we're actually telling the truth, which is something she's incapable of.
When it comes to her comment about being bullied, you know, the bulk of it while she was pregnant, I don't know what happened when she was pregnant with Archie because I wasn't even aware. Like, I wasn't following them. I didn't know anything about them. However, the second pregnancy was when she held that Oprah interview. So if she's talking about people, including us, coming out and seeing her for who she really is, in that moment, Tom Barrow was also one of those people who saw her for who she was. After that interview, 99.99999% of us were criticizing her behavior and her lies.
Yep.
We were not bullying her. And the fact that she was pregnant, I mean, well, you decided to give the interview when you were pregnant.
She put herself out there. She went out there. She knew what she was doing. And the only thing she didn't know was that it was going to backfire in her face. But anyone who puts themselves out there knows there is going to be some form of criticism, whether justified or not, on what you say, especially with Oprah. You don't walk onto the biggest stage without a few people in the audience booing you.
And especially given the timing. They knew Prince Philip was dying in hospital. It was a pre-recorded session. They didn't have to release it when they did. Mm-hmm. And they still chose to. Of course, that's going to attract criticism. You're a grown woman. At the time, you were 40 years old. You shouldn't have people telling you the obvious at this point. Especially for someone like her who insists that she's so intelligent.
Why does she keep saying it? Oh, that's right, because it's not true.
Unfortunately, I used to be one of those people who thought she was intelligent too. And then, you know, back in 2021. And then towards the end of that year, with all those faux pas and lying to a court of law, or sorry, you know, forgetting.
Conveniently.
Yeah. Her involvement with that book, I was like, I'm sorry. You know, as someone who knows that I am intelligent, this is not how intelligent people operate.
No. Intelligent people don't have to say they're intelligent. That's just the giveaway,
well,
right?
Ironically,
there.
I just said that I am.
Yes, but showing that anyone can tell, maybe this person's not entirely telling the truth. Another thing I took away from that was, I wonder, I'm no body language expert. There are plenty of them out there, but her movements were off in that. There was something about the way she was moving. You know, even the little things like putting her hand behind her ears. Absolutely. It's just something's off, and I know that I'm not looking deep into it, but...
Well, to me, what stood out was the fact that she was smiling the whole time almost. And I don't know about you, but when you're recounting tales of really difficult times and you're, you know, when I'm doing it, I mean, you tell me, you're the one watching me when I'm, you know, being sad or something. Am I smiling through it?
People don't smile when they're talking about horrendous things. They don't go, oh, I went through such a horrible experience.
Pretty much, you know, and like I said, I've seen this behavior in court, you know, basically perjury, and it's sickening. But also with Meghan, because I can't prove she's lying really, but it's this instinct. It's the exact instinct we all had collectively when we saw her Oprah interview and also her engagement interview, because my red flags were screaming. I was much younger. I was at university. I didn't care.
Yep.
I kind of saw the interview. Oh, wow. Prince Harry is getting married. That's it. You know, delete it out of my brain. And then the irony of her even having the audacity to mention the word humanity.
The woman who wouldn't know humanity if it stared her in the face, and she wants to say, everyone should show humanity to me. But the moment that I need to treat someone else with humanity, screw that.
Where was the humanity to every single member of the royal family that you pretty much annihilated? I mean, the queen, they were old, elderly people in their 90s. And this is how you choose to treat them?
People who had served a higher purpose than themselves. People who served their country.
And who gave her everything.
Everything. And yet she looked at that and went, I really wouldn't mind wearing that crown.
And your father, who, how many times do we have to say? 2 heart attacks, got a stroke that robbed him of his ability to talk. And instead of going to see him, you go march off with a camera crew to Uvalde, which, by the way, she did again in this visit.
Of course she did.
Apparently, the boy she went to visit, the man, is a Sussex squaddie. I say apparently. There have been screenshots of tweets of him saying, "I love you, Sussex squad." So he's, it's funny how she sniffed out, the one Sussex squaddie in Uvalde.
Yeah.
But yeah, they got cameras. And once again, they can't do a single good deed without it being recorded.
Yep, because they never do good deeds for the sake of doing good deeds, which is what good people do.
Exactly. And that's what my next video is about. So stay tuned for that. And money is the bottom line, right? She keeps saying, the bottom line, these YouTubers, they're incentivized. They get paid. I mean, it's a pretty good gig to get paid to spread the truth, don't you think?
I think so. And I think that gig should be the norm. It's funny how many people get paid to spread lies.
I mean, she has the audacity, again, she's a very audacious woman, to bring up this bottom line when their career, their entire career since Megxit has been defaming and attacking their family for the moolah.
But it's okay when Meghan does it because she's a woman.
Why is no one, before I get to this question actually, can I just say, given recent events, developments in the world, it's hard to put things into words sometimes because I just can't wrap my head around the state of the world. And I'm a young person who has, in the past decade became an adult. And I think I'm still uncovering, as Meghan says, the layers of the onion. And it just keeps getting more rotten and rotten and rotten the further I go into life. And I don't want to sound like a pessimist, but we're platforming people like her. We're giving them hundreds of millions of dollars to make documentaries, to destroy their families, to incite hate, as she said, to lie, to bring down other women like Catherine.
Yep.
She never stood up for her when Omid Scobie mentioned her as a racist.
Of course not, because the only woman that matters is Meghan.
And she specifically singled her out and said she made her cry in the Oprah interview.
Yep.
You never stood up for Catherine, and you never will, because she is the most threatening thing in your life at this point. But while we're platforming people like her, and she's not the only one, Meghan is almost a one-dimensional problem that is symbolic in a way of the state of the world, which is you platform the rich and the lies, the liars, the rich, the cheats, and you throw away the brave truth tellers, the selfless, to rot in prison.
Yep. All by design.
I mean, how? There's no logic. It's topsy-turvy. It's worse. I can't even say it's Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland, where everything's flipped over, basically. This is a nightmare. It's a dystopia. And I made a post recently in my community page saying, my God, there are so many things that are worth talking about. Way more than this woman, but I can't.
Yep, because free speech, unfortunately, isn't as free as we like to think it is.
It's nowhere near as free as we like to think it is. It's free for the likes of her.
Yeah, she can say whatever she wants. She can do whatever she wants. She can lie, cheat, destroy. She can do anything because she has money. So and clout, and she's an elitist, effectively. I made a whole video about this, which you can watch if you haven't already. I'll link it up in the cards. But yeah, it just seems that if you want to speak the truth, you forfeit your life. And if you want to lie, you're rewarded with money and fame and power and access. It's so disheartening that this is the world that we live in. And I sound like an idealist, forgive me. But it's a very rude awakening every day. More of us should be idealists. One of the worst sayings I've ever heard in my entire life is, "It is what it is." That is the worst saying. No, it is not what it is. It is what we make of it.
Absolutely. And as much as Brooke Shields did, I believe, try to challenge her in a very clever way, why did no one else on that I mean, I know the answer. She basically arranged that whole session.
Yep.
So she's behind it. But it's so funny how she's sitting there and people, no one even dares to ask, well, Meghan, you talk about the bottom line. You talk about humanity. You talk about raising other women and protecting them. Like, tell me, what have you been doing over the past 4 years? Hasn't it been the exact opposite of what you're preaching?
The complete opposite. I was going to say, that's all it is. The complete opposite. Meghan thinks, do as I say, not as I do. She even says it. But we're not idiots. And she thinks we're stupid. She thinks we're idiots because she thinks she's intelligent.
Well, you see the world through your own lens, as she likes to say. Yeah. So she's just unfortunately projecting. I say unfortunately because, again, this could have been a very impressive woman. I want to remind everyone that when she came onto the scene and got engaged, I was much younger. And I was one of these young women who were quite taken by her. I wasn't a fan. I didn't know Suits. In the army, people told me to watch Suits because I'm a lawyer. I was like, I ain't watching Suits. But yeah, after the interview, so again, because I deleted her from my brain, and then, the thing coming up to the wedding, people were like unearthing old interviews of hers when she was a feminist and a humanitarian, and I didn't know any of the context. And I bought it. And I thought she was wonderful. I really did. But unfortunately, she's let me down, and I don't matter to her. But she's led down an entire cohort of young women that she claims to want to inspire.
She wants to inspire them to serve her.
Pretty much. And now she wants to shut me down. Not literally singling me out, but she wants to shut all of us women, young and old, and everything in between. Because we dare to speak the truth. And it's such a small, one-dimensional representation of much bigger issues happening in the world. She
is a symptom of a much bigger problem.
Yeah, which is why I'm happy to keep exposing people like her, even though for some it might seem petty and royal gossip. It's really not. It's really not. That's never the angle we come at it from. And it's okay if you do. I know there are many channels who love to call it gossip, and maybe they take that angle to make it fun. That's fine. I watch them too.
So long as we're exposing her, so long as we are seeing something that's wrong in the world and we try and make it right.
If you want people to stop talking about you in a negative light, then stop behaving like that, the way you do. Stop acting terribly, and then maybe all of us will finally run out of things to criticize.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Anything else you want to say?
It's never going to happen. So here's to another 200 episodes.
Well, look, I don't think she's as powerful as she likes to put herself out to be. I don't think that she has the pull to affect YouTube, because YouTube, they have their own guidelines in place. All of us have not overstepped our boundaries. And if they bring down channels that comment on famous people, then what's YouTube going to become?
Another traitor. Because last I checked, they were an American company. So they should have an American values like free speech. So if YouTube was to do that, that would make them a traitor.
But also, they make money out of us.
They do.
We don't pocket everything we make, from whatever ads. YouTube takes pretty much almost half of our money. So they have no incentive.
Nope.
To shut us down.
Nope. I do not think that Harry and Meghan could bankroll the amount of money that to replace the people exposing Meghan.
I mean, she had to basically pay her way into this conference.
Exactly. There are people who invited it, and there are people who have to pay to enter.
So yes, that is it for today, unfortunately. Hope you all enjoyed the episode, found it eye-opening. And that's it.
That's it. We will see you here again in the future.
In a fortnight.
And we will try and remember exactly what podcast episode it is.
Yeah.
We'll write it down everywhere, and then still probably, double guess.
Still second guess ourselves.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.